All right. All right. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of the True Story Bro podcast. I've got a really, I can't say really enough, a really solid guest today. Gentleman named Jamie Hyde. We met through a group called Apex. I'm Apex Entourage. He's probably Apex higher, but he's a great dude. Learned more about him about a week ago, about where he's kind of, again, this podcast is about people sharing their stories that just kind of blow people away. Stories of victory, overcoming like just crap in their life. You know, for me, it was cancer. Other people, it's been addiction. It's just everyone's got their own story. And the goal of this podcast, again, is to inspire somebody. So if there's one person that listens to this one story and is like, that's me, that's where I'm at, and it inspires them, that's a win. That's a win for me. And I'm sure it's a win also for the guests on the show. So without further ado, this is going to be Jamie Hyde. I have a little bit of a bio here. He's been married to Marcia for 27 years. He's got a 24-year-old son and a business partner. He was a law enforcement officer for how many years? 12 years?
12, yeah. And
wow.
The wife's name is Marcia, so she'll hunt you down for that. And actually, it's 27 years today.
Wow. Okay. All right. 27 today. Oh, Valentine's Day. What a good day. So yeah, we want to get into some of Jamie's story here, whatever he feels like sharing about kind of his upbringing as a kid, you know, what he went through as a law enforcement officer, and you know, how he overcame the battles in his life. So why don't you introduce yourself, Jamie? I appreciate you being on here. Can't thank you enough for taking the time. And I know we're going to definitely change some lives today. So I appreciate you.
Hey, man, thanks for having me, brother. I've been looking forward to this one since we talked the first time.
Nice.
So what do you want to know, man? I grew up in Michigan, a little farming community 80 miles north of Detroit. My junior year, we moved to another town called Marysville, which is right on the St. Clair River. We lived on the river the last year and a half. We lived there. Sarnia, Canada was out my bedroom window, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
Great little high school over there by the Port Huron area for anybody that understands the geography of Michigan. My mom grew up being the daughter of farmers. So she grew up attending half her school year in Michigan and half her school year in Lakeland, Florida, because my grandparents wintered in Florida being farmers.
Mm-hmm.
And so she always wanted to get back down here where we are now. So my stepfather got a job as I was graduating. They timed it. My younger sister still had 2 years to go in high school. And I wanted to go in the military. And my mom did not want me to go in the military. She was dead set against it because my mother is one of those mothers that just worries about every little thing. And I was still going and I was defiant about it. And then she said the one thing that changed my mind. And she said, look, we have nobody to help us unpack the U-Haul when we get to Florida. So please go with us and help us unpack the U-Haul. And if you want to go in the military, go in the military. So I'm like, all right, how can you say no to mom, right?
Yep.
So I had some graduation money in my pocket. I came down. Within a couple of days, I met some friends. Summer flew by. I went through that graduation money. Military went out the window. And got a job and met my future ex-wife within a month, and my first wife, and then here we are.
That's awesome. No, that's a good overview of a quick snap. In your write-up that you did tell me you had some anxiety as a child. Is that something that, you know, it sounds like you've battled with, at least at that point in time?
Yeah. So as far back as I can recall, I think it started right around about age 7.
Yeah.
And it really crippled me pretty much through age 16. And then around 16, I think I was able, when we moved, we made that move, because here's the thing. I was, my mother being a worrywart, like I said, she taught me to walk away, not fight back, not stand up for yourself. My dad's a great dad and I love him, but you know, he wasn't always around during those times.
Sure.
And they divorced now 7. And so I was that kid that worried about every little thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the heat of the summer of Michigan, I would wear blue jeans and not shorts because I was afraid I'd get teased about my legs or something like that. I mean, I just worried about every single thing, which it's, you know, when you're raised that way around somebody that's like that, my mother has her own issues because she was adopted, etc. Which right. So I just worried about everything. And then because I wouldn't fight back, because I wouldn't stand up, I got bullied, picked on, etc. And then when I moved to Marysville, I made a decision. I just said, you know what? None of these kids know me. I can be anybody I want to be. And I didn't get picked on anymore.
That's awesome.
I just started standing up for myself, and that kind of went away for a long time.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
But for a long time, it went away.
Yeah. Yeah. No, well, and I mean, I think a lot of people, and myself included, I was the type of kid that, growing up, I wasn't the smallest kid. I could probably have defended myself, but I was the same way. I turned the cheek and, I got bullied, and I probably could have taken those bullies down, but I just didn't have the self-confidence to be able to do that. Like, it was just one of those things where I just didn't have that at the time. And I think there's a lot of people that are out there that just don't have the confidence in themselves, and not that they need to, the message isn't to get in those fights all the time, because sometimes you do have to turn the cheek and be the bigger person. And, but there's a lot of people out there, like I said, that have gone through that. So I appreciate you being vulnerable about going through that. And again, moms, listen, my mom was a warrior war too. She still is to this day, but I love her to pieces. I mean, it's part of the reason why we are who we are, right? Is who raised us. So you got through that and kind of figured, all right, I'm getting a fresh start. Then kind of, where does your life go to?
Yeah, so I loved living in Marysville. I made friends right away. Actually, my best friend from Marysville High School, up there in Michigan, he moved down here, I don't know, about 15 years ago, and he lives 30 minutes south of me to this day. And
Nice.
so we get to play golf once in a while and hang out. And I literally met him my first day in that new school. It was really cool. So he ended up marrying somebody from South Florida, and they ended up moving down here eventually. He met her up in Michigan, and then they moved back down here, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So then, like I said, I met my first wife. I got married relatively young at 20 years old.
Yep.
Always wanted to be a police officer since I was about 14. I applied a couple of places. I was too young, actually, because the state of Florida at that time, I don't know what it is now, I said you had to be at least 19. But let's face it, it's very rare to get hired that young. I mean, they don't really like 21, 22, right?
Yep.
So I went through the interview process with one department, found out I was still too young to even go through the process. Then went through the interview process them again, didn't pass, waited a couple of years, met somebody that had worked as a civilian at the city of Pompano Beach. He told me they were hiring, had a big hiring wave, applied. He made a phone call to the chief.
Yeah. Connections, baby.
I actually worked for his wife. So
okay.
And he made a phone call to the chief, and he's like, hey, good guy, give him a look. It took about 6 months, and I graduated the police academy and turned 22 2 days apart.
No kidding. That's awesome. So what was it like being what year was that? 89. So how, like, you were there for 12 years, you said. Yep. So 89 to, in the 90s, what kind of thing went on during those 12 years, man?
Well, that was right in the heart of the crack epidemic.
Oh yeah.
I was in South Florida. So when I got hired, I was told we were the 4th highest crime rate for cities of our size in the nation. They went on a spree and they hired 100 officers. And I think I was like number 7, 8, somewhere in there. I actually was supposed to be in the earlier academy class, but they said there was a problem with my thyroid and they had to retest me or something. Yep. Then it came back good. So I made the 2nd class out of that first hiring spree. Man, I was living my dream and absolutely terrified.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll bet. Today, everybody told me don't do it. Everybody knew there was law enforcement, which was only a very few people. Don't do it. It's a hard career. I didn't listen. Most young kids don't listen. Today, I firmly believe that nobody should be a police officer much younger than 25, 26 years old. You just don't have enough life experience at that point.
Yeah. Right.
Personal belief, and I know there's a lot of young people out there that might want to be all law enforcement and they think I'm full of garbage, but I lived it.
Yeah.
And
that makes a lot of sense. I mean, like you said, life experience. I mean, you're involved every day with people that are much older, that much more experienced, criminals, just some bad people at times, and you've got to be able to have the wherewithal, no matter how much training you have, and the maturity to handle that at every step of the way.
So the fact is, brother, that people don't stop and think about is law enforcement is the only profession on the face of this earth that could take your personal freedom away with none other than their word. The president don't have that power. No judge in this country has that power. No attorney in this country has that power. The Supreme Court doesn't have that power. There's not another profession in this country that can just take your freedom just based on probable cause.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And that starts with reasonable suspicion. You build the case. I've been out a long time, but
yeah,
I've been out 20.
Yeah.
But it starts with that. And that's if you think about the heaviness of that, of making those decisions, and let alone if you have to make a decision to take someone's life, which is even way more work, way worse and way more heavier make, you know?
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously it's a tough job. I mean, my dad, well, my stepdad, I call him my dad. My dad, I have my father and my stepfather, but my stepfather, who's also my father now,
Yeah.
he was a police officer, and in a small town here in Connecticut, and essentially it was like 12 years old when he came into our lives, and just the daily grind of what you go through, and the hours that you keep, and nobody, I think today's day and age, it's bringing it to light, but nobody really really understands what you go through in an emotional way as a police officer, like what you see on a day-to-day basis. And my brother's a paramedic, so he sees some stuff too, like what you see, what you go through, just the pressures and the PTSD and like all that stuff is totally real, and it's coming more to light now, I think, in the coming years. But I mean, what are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, so back then, I mean, so I was trained by officers that were officers in the 60s and the 70s, even, maybe
Yeah.
late 70s, early 70s. And,
Mm-hmm.
As we heard back then when cops were cops, right?
Right.
Every generation thinks the next generation's weaker than they were. Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's how it goes, right? But I was trained by some of the old school guys, and you don't cry, you don't whine, you definitely don't ask for help, or you get labeled real quick,
Yeah.
And I've talked to, in Apex, we have almost two handfuls of officers or ex-officers now.
Yeah.
And I've talked to some of those folks, and it's not much different, I don't think. But at least, people are becoming more and more aware of mental illness that comes out of it, stressors and stuff. And that's kind of what happened to me. I remember, in the police academy, they said like the average law enforcement career today is 14 years. And I'm like, yeah, you're full of crap. Like, this is all I ever wanted to do. This is all, this is my dream job. And by year 5, I was like, man, there might be more to the world than this stuff.
Yeah.
And by year 7, I was like, okay, I'm getting out. And I made it to year 12. And then I was like, all right, I can't handle this no more. And what we didn't know, because I didn't ask for help and wasn't aware of, was that I was fighting depression on many levels.
Yeah.
And it was coming out more and more and more. And I still didn't even really know what it was. And I didn't know how to ask for help. And it, like I would be lacing up my boots to go to work, and tears would just be pouring down my eyes, getting ready in the bedroom, and then trying to hide them from my wife as I was walking out to my patrol car to go to work. And I was having nightmares that I was doing traffic stops and guys were jumping out with automatic weapons and shooting me and killing me on traffic stops. I was having nightmares. I was crying, I had a 30-minute drive to work. I was crying the whole time I was driving, while I was in uniform, while I was in my patrol unit. And I just I was so deep in depression, and I didn't even know what it was.
Yeah.
And then I think, our son was about 2, he's 24 now. And we'd been married about, 5 years, 97, 99. We've been married about 4 years at the time, and marriage was getting a little rough, and, not sure if we could kind of make it. We were kind of in and out a little bit. And this one day, my wife's like, you have depression. You need to go get help because I can't deal with this anymore. I went to a psychiatrist, and he put me on some meds, and not a med guy,
Yeah.
I don't help people. That obviously they do. They have their place.
Yep.
I tried them. I did them, but just on and off. And then I got recruited into a company called Primerica. It's a insurance, whatever, it's a multi-level network marketing company. I was going to be a millionaire. Ooh.
I'm aware of it. Oh yeah.
I was looking for a way out. Right.
Yeah.
And I just went all in. And I made the decision. I went to the road. We didn't have cell phones back then. It's 2001. I mean, we were just starting to carry cell phones on the regular, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Room before roll call, and I called my wife, just like getting ready to go to roll call, working midnight shift, and she said, "All right, you getting ready to go to roll call?" I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Have a good shift, be safe." I'm like, "Thanks." She's like, "I love you." I'm like, "I love you too." And then she's like, "What's the matter?" And I'm like, "I think I'm done." And her only response was, "It's about time."
No shit. Wow.
About time.
Yeah.
She said, "Well, I'm glad you're getting out finally." She said, "But have you thought about how we're going to live?"
Yep.
And
valid point.
For America. And I said, I called the pension board actually, and there's 50,000 in my account, and we can have a check in 5 days. And she said, then what? And I said, I have no idea. We'll just figure it out. And that's kind of what we did. Took the
Good for
check,
you.
cashed out, walked,
Good for
and
you.
we've just been figuring it out ever since, to be
Good for
honest.
you. Good for you, man. I give you credit for having the balls to just walk when you felt that you needed to walk, man. I mean, that's a lot of people. It gets even worse, you know. I mean, think about if you had stayed and tried to keep battling through.
Oh yeah, I'd be dead.
Man,
I'd be gone. I would have
yeah.
killed myself years ago. I know that for a fact.
Oh,
If
man.
I had gotten
Yeah.
help,
Right.
you know,
Of
if I
course.
had the path, there was no doubt I would have killed myself years ago. No
Sure.
doubt.
Oh, I'm glad you're here, brother. I'm glad you made that decision. Primerica. I've been recruited by them before. I didn't bite or get in, but you know, I sat through a couple meetings, intro meetings, because hey, it's entrepreneurial and there's nothing wrong with it.
I was there 18 months. I made $400
Yep.
18 months.
Yeah, yep.
Thank God we had that check, right?
Yeah.
But you know what? I give us so much credit because I learned to talk to people.
Yeah.
I learned to quote unquote sell. I learned to build
Yeah.
relationships. Back then, man, we were recruiting out of the white pages. We were cold calling residential homes, recruiting out of the white pages. I hope I'm not doing that these days. We were, and it gave me the guts to do it. And I had to take that bulletproof vest off and that gun off and those handcuffs off because, you know, when I was a police officer, it's do as I say or go to jail. When you're in sales, you can't have that.
Exactly.
So I'm intimidating as it is, I've been told. So
how was that transition though? Like going from having all that power, you know, I mean, that must have been a real learning experience.
Really rough for a long time. Really, it was really hard. You know, I never regretted leaving until I hit 47 and I would have been able to retire and collect my pension. So the fact that I could have been collecting a pension for the last 7 years, that kind of stings a little bit, but that's okay. I mean, we make decisions, but I'm glad I got out of the job, like I said, because it just wasn't for me. It wasn't my highest and best self, as we say in Apex. It wasn't who I'm supposed to be in the long run.
Yeah.
And it was great. And I worked with some really good folks, and I'm grateful for the experience. And I met my wife on the job, and we have our son, who's now my business partner. And it's all because of that. So you can't go back with regrets.
No, that's awesome. So your transition, listen, I'm happy that, of course, you can always have that sting. We've all, and maybe not all of us, but I've been in that place where like, if I had just stayed there and had the 2020 vision to, it's not that easy, right? I mean, and it is what it is. You just have to move forward. I have a shirt that says keep moving forward no matter what. Just keep moving forward. Whatever decisions you make, there's a reason behind it. I'm a man of faith, and I believe that God guides us in directions and taps us on the shoulder and tells us which way that we should go, whether or not we listen, because a lot of times we don't. But, you know, I think that, you know, you just keep following what your gut is, and you're going to lead to good places, and you can't look back. You have to burn that bridge, which obviously you did. So tell me now a little bit more. You just mentioned, you know, your son, your business partner. Let's transition into that, because that's I mean, obviously how we know each other now. Like how did it get to that point?
Yeah, so really figuring out what I wanted to be when I grow up now, right?
Yeah, man.
I'm in the world, and here I am 54 years old and still putting it together. I think I finally found my calling, believe it or not. It took forever. And there's parts of me that feel like I'm a little behind, but you know what? Like you said, God knows our story, bro. And it's my story, and I can't do nothing about it. And I try not to look at other people and what their story is, because they're on their own path.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm behind. And it's funny because I told my wife for years through all this, I'll tell you the story how I got here, but struggle, trying to figure out. I'm like, honey, I promise you, I don't know why, I don't know how, but one day it's going to be struggle financially figuring this out, what we're going to do. And then we're going to see $20,000 a month, $30,000 a month, $40,000 a month. And today I'm happy to say that stuff's starting to come to fruition for us.
I love it.
And it's been years and years and years. And it's our hope. And I believe she'll be able to retire this year and stay home.
That's awesome.
Live the life she deserves to live now.
I just got chills when you said that, by the way, just like that whole thing, because there's people struggling, you know, and just they have that goal. I've always been in that same boat. Like, all right, I went to college and I got my MBA and all that, but I'm like, what am I going to do with this? You know, like I tried this job and I always had a fallback. And we struggled, you know, I mean, but until you figure out where you're meant to be and where your space is, and you just put the hammer down and put your head down, that's when things happen. That's when things happen.
So what happened was, I was in Primerica. I wasn't making no money. We were burning through that money we had for my pension.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law, he was one of 5 partners in a commercial real estate firm. And he's like, just go get your real estate license, come work with us. So he was supposed to be my mentor. And that's what I did. And went into commercial real estate. And I was there from 2001-ish into 2001 through 2000, I don't know, 5, 6. But I think 2003, he ended up passing away. And he was, unfortunately, he was an undercover alcoholic and he drank himself to death. And he, and we knew, but he lived alone and it wasn't much. We tried to help. We tried to intervene. He wouldn't let us,
Yeah.
He had his own issues like most people do. And now basically his 4 partners, where they were great to me and nothing but grateful for this, but for lack of a better term, they were kind of stuck with me. He recruited me. He was supposed to be my mentor.
Yeah.
And now, so one of the partners took me under his wing and he taught me how to do leasing for retail. Ended up getting a big portfolio and that let us eat. That let me make some money.
Yeah.
But again, the more I got into it, now I recognize why it wasn't for me to just, again, wasn't my calling.
Yeah.
When Katrina hit New Orleans, I became aware of this business called field inspections, where insurance companies and mortgage companies will pay you really good money just to document damage.
Yep.
So we got hit here in Florida with in the same year with the backside of not Katrina. We got hit with 2 others. I can't remember, Wilma and whatever.
Yeah.
There was a lot of damage, and I partnered up with one of my closest friends at the time. And we're still close friends. We just figured out later we were better friends when we were business partners.
Yeah, that happens.
Job rolling, and we started these field inspections, and we made some money. We partnered up for 2006. Again, we figured out we were really better friends and we're partners, and we split for 7. But he handled Broward County. Marcia and I were living in Palm Beach County. We handled Palm Beach County. We kind of had sister companies. Like I would give him stuff in Broward, he'd give me stuff in Palm Beach.
Yeah.
We just pay each other and help each other out. So that was good. Ran that through 11. Things got a little slow. Wife came to me. She said, okay, you've made some really good money the last 4 or 5 years, but you've been slow and you've only made like $2,500 all summer. What's next? And she's like, you're going to build your company. You're going to go get a job. And I was like, man, I think I'm going to go sell cars. And she's like, why go sell cars? And I'm like,
love it.
I think I'd be good at it. And I always got this heart to help people. And everybody's dream when you first think you're gonna go sell cars because you want to go help people buy cars, and you find out 24 hours that's not the case.
Yeah.
But,
Right.
I applied at a Honda dealer. I got hired. We started. I loved it for about 3 weeks. Then I hated it. But about 3 weeks in, I heard of this thing called an auto broker, where you work on behalf of the buyer.
Okay.
And that's really what I wanted to do. So I told her about that. And she said, what are you going to do? You just started. I said, well, I don't know enough about the business to be an auto broker.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm going to stick it out as long as I can. And I'm going to learn all the ins and outs of the dealership. And then I'm going to represent the people buying. And that's what I did. So I left that dealership from, let's say, the end of November through March, ended up at another Honda dealer that fit my personality much better. Had really good people, but I really got tired of working Friday nights, every other Sunday. It just was it's crappy family time, and I made some money. Okay, but I just said, all right, I'm going to leave and start this auto broker business. I'd been self-employed previously for that 4 or 5 year period. And that's what we did. So we started the auto broker business on November 1st, 2014, I think.
Okay.
I started the auto broker business. And November 1st, 2014, Halloween was my last day on the job. And we had done really well in the field inspection business when we started in 06. So in my mind, being self-employed is easy. Like,
right. Yeah.
Well, that didn't happen.
Right.
So we probably went 5 months before I got my first client. And I had no idea what I was doing. None. This time that pension money, that was long gone. I had some 401k money, which I cashed out to keep paying the bills. And, from when I was selling cars, and we struggled. We started struggling hard. And then but I just wouldn't, like I said, I just wouldn't quit. I was just like, following this and that, whatever. And then, so my depression was back.
Right. Of course.
Anxiety was back. And I wasn't living the life and being the husband that you're supposed to be, let's say. And so what happened was, since you brought up faith, I'll tell you this. What happened was in 2015, I found a coach.
Mhm.
And I found a coached with her for a little bit. She was awesome. Left coaching with her, coached this other dude, ended up coaching with her again.
Mhm.
I'll leave it at that for now.
Yep.
Then, so June of 2015, 3 years prior, my wife had gone back to church,
Mhm.
taken custody of our two great nephews. They'd had a rough home life,
Mhm.
disappeared. Nobody could find her. The state gave them to us for 10 months. And my wife wanted to go back to church for their sake, but she got saved and found God and her going back to church for them.
Amen.
Well, I wasn't there yet. I
Yep.
was still mad at God. It happened to my son. We'd undergone a lot of stuff with him.
Mhm.
And he picked up my anxiety and things like that.
Yeah.
And so we hired this coach, and he's sitting across from me at dinner. It's a buffet dinner, and there's like 20 of us there. And he says, "Wait, Saturday night?" He says, "What are you guys doing tomorrow?" And I didn't say nothing.
Mhm.
So my wife said, "Well, I go to church at, I serve the children's ministry at 9:30. I sit the 11 service. I spend Sunday afternoons with my mom, who was still with us at the time. Jamie, he's on his own." So he looks at me and he says, "You're going to go to church tomorrow?" And he goes, "What about you? You're going to go to church tomorrow?" And I didn't say nothing. We just had like this long stare down. And he goes, "So let me ask you a question. You want God to show up for you in your business, in your life?" And yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I'm mad at God at the time. I'm not even sure if I believe in God anymore, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever. He goes, "Take your wife to church, would you?" So I go, "Okay, I'll go." So we're walking out of the restaurant. My wife takes me by the hand. "Are you really going to go to church with me tomorrow?" And I go, "Okay, I'll go." She says, "Well, wait a minute. For 3 years, I've been asked to go to church, and you won't go." Made fun of me for going. It's not a good memory for me. I was
Yeah.
a real shithead.
Yeah.
And I said, "Yeah, I'll go." She said, "No, wait a minute. I've been asked for 3 years, whatever. And now we go to dinner with this guy one time, and he tells you to go, and you're going." And I said, "Well, I paid him $2,500 to tell me to go to church." And she said, "You're a smart ass." And I said, "We know this." So I went.
Yeah.
And it wasn't one of those, I walked to the door and everything was great.
Right. Of course not.
Right. I hated it. I absolutely hated it. I didn't want to be there. I sat with my arms crossed, scowl on my face, pissed off,
Mhm.
mad at the whole world. And but I kept going. I said I'd go. I gave my word, so I kept going. I do try to keep my word for all the scumbag stuff that I was that person back then. I at least kept my word. And as I sat there, man, as you know, the messages start sinking in.
Mhm.
Start sinking in. And then this one particular, so this was June of 15, July, August, this one particular message, they were repaving the parking lot and they funneled us out the back doors to the front. And our pastor at the time, he would go greet everybody as they were leaving.
Yeah.
I was where I'm in my office today, but I was wearing my sunglasses on top of my head. And he stops me. Now, I had not talked to this guy, but 2 words, because we attended that church when we first moved up there 20 some odd years prior.
Mhm. Sure.
So I hadn't talked to this guy in 20 years prior. He looked at my shoulder and he says, "You got to stop living in your past, start living your future." And tears just blew out of
Dang.
my eyes. So I flip my
Wow.
sunglasses down. I walk out. Well, my wife had been going to Bible studies. And what I didn't know was I was being set up. She had the whole church praying for me to come back to church. So I was told later that, yeah, you were being set up, buddy. She had the
Yeah.
whole church praying.
That's good.
So from there, God just started healing me,
Mhm.
talking to me, and
Yes.
I wasn't living the life I was supposed to be living as a husband. And God just finally got a hold of me. He's like, you got to have a talk with your wife, and you got to tell her what's up. So I got baptized in Easter 16.
That's
And then
awesome.
January 28, 2018, I sat my wife down, made some confessions, and asked for help. And I didn't, I said, "Look, you'll probably leave me. I understand. I deserve it, but I just need help."
Mhm.
And so now I'm starting to transform, and I don't even know it. I'm
Right.
in hell in my mind. We call it the pit of hell, the darkness.
Mhm.
Hoping she don't kill me in my sleep. She would have deserved to. And I never forget, man, we went to therapy and we pull in and she's like, "What are we even doing here? Our marriage is over." And I said, "Listen, I understand. And if
Yeah.
you want to break up, I get it, whatever. But look, I've obviously got issues. You probably have some issues from your childhood. Why don't
Yeah.
we just go to therapy and you support me in trying to be a better person, and I'll support you in trying to be a better person. And then we'll see where it goes from there. We won't even worry about our marriage at this point." And she
Right.
said, "I can live with that." And that's what we did. And so we started therapy. February 2018. So 4 years ago, or the end of January, I guess. Yeah, first week of February, 4 years ago. And then I had, like I said, I coached that female. I coached that guy at Assembly Church. I went back to her.
Yep.
I was with her at the time, but when we started therapy, I went to her and said, I can't coach you anymore. I got to put, this is about my marriage. This is the forget business.
Yep.
We're just going to go see this psychotherapist.
Yep.
Man helped us. I found Apex in August, or Sales Talk with Sales Pros. Then I found Apex, and then I joined Apex. So, man, the transition out as far as getting my mind better and building was first church.
Yep.
Was second was my wife.
Yep.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Third, therapy, and then I was actually thinking about this yesterday. And then was Apex. It was the achievement. And then all the connections we make. And I came at Apex as an auto broker, and now I'm a mindset organic marketing coach.
That's crazy.
Done for you, and
that's so crazy, man.
That's
Dude, man, you just display like the attitude of I don't give up. Like you don't give up on yourself. You don't give up on your marriage. You don't give up on, you know what I mean? Like a lot more people would have given up a lot of times, And I applaud you, dude, for just never giving up on anything, just always moving forward and that's the thing. Keep moving forward, figuring it out. Backing up to like, you doing this, you doing that. I mean, dude, I get it. I resonate with that. Like I said, I've tried I was doing the math it was probably 6 months ago with my wife about how many jobs I've had since I got out of college. And it was just such an astronomical number. Like most people get out of college, they've got like 2, 3, 4, 5. I was like in the 20s. Like that's how many different freaking things I've done. So dude, I applaud you because you and I are alike on that. Just keep moving forward and never quitting. And you just took it to another level by finding God. Thank God your wife is a woman of God, right? Otherwise, I mean, like I said, I believe none of that would have happened. She's got people praying for you. God listens, right?
Let me throw this out there for folks that are at that stage where their marriage isn't so great.
Yeah.
Thinking about therapy. Let me give some truly free advice from somebody that lived it.
Yeah.
Find a therapist that will explain to you how the brain works, not just talk about your problems.
Right.
Will explain to you how the brain works, because that's what saved our marriage. Our therapist did some techniques called EMDR, which helped me get over some childhood trauma.
Mm-hmm.
But when we started talking about either actions I took or actions she took that were hurtful to each other, he started saying, well, when you were 7, you experienced this, so your brain's going to go there now. Right. And then that's what truly saved our marriage. And the other thing was, we'd been to therapy, not as a couple before, but we both had experiences with therapists. And I'd actually been to therapy a couple times with my first wife.
Sure.
And typically these therapists, they'll have you come together, explain the problem. They'll have you come separate 3-4 times, then they'll have you come back together. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So this was how this started out. Right. Yeah. And then what happened was my wife was filtering her hurt through what she was hearing from our therapist when she was going alone. So she would come home and go, John said he can't believe you did this, right? Well, now I'm feeling attacked.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm in the pit of hell, feeling like dog crap, and I'm trying to dig out. I can't see the light. Now I'm back to thinking about suicide again. And the only reason I don't do it is because of our boy, right? Our son. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to dig out, and I'm not mad at her for being mad at me. I don't blame her. She's mad at me. But yeah, like every time I reach up, I feel like I'm getting kicked again. Yeah. Right. So I just went back and I said, can we do a favor? Can we just say we don't come alone anymore? We just come together at all times. So now there's no misunderstandings. Because now I go back, I'm pissed at the therapist.
Yeah, right.
He's like, he's like, I said this. I didn't say it in the way it came out, but he's don't blame her either because she's filtering through her. Yeah. And it deserved to. There's no doubt. She's not the bad person here.
Right.
But so we started doing that, and we started sitting in that room together, and she learned things about my childhood, and I learned things about her childhood that neither one of us knew. And we were on our 23rd wedding anniversary.
Yep.
Neither one of us knew. And then about 6-8 months went by, and I just get a text message from her one day, and she's like, I love you. I forgive you. Let's get on with our life.
I love it.
And, we put our shit back together, and today we're closer than ever. And I mean, like, today's Valentine's Day. Today's our 27th wedding anniversary. Yeah. Hey, you want to sneak away at the end of the week? We signed like 3 new clients in the last 10 days. So I'm stacked, right?
Yeah.
said, hey, honey, you want to go away for a couple of days? And she's on vacation this week.
Yeah.
By all means, we have the money to sneak away. Just go up to Jacksonville, which is 3 hours north of us. Just
Yeah.
whatever. And she's like, you know what? I just want to relax this week. You just stay here and hammer down with your clients, and I'll take care of the house and just do what you got to do. So we can build to a point of consistency where I can just finally retire and stay home. That's more important to me than 2 days away. So
yeah, that's awesome.
We cooked a home cooked meal last night and sat here and watched the Super Bowl, and that's how we celebrated our anniversary.
I love it, man. Congrats on your anniversary. That's, I mean, you worked. You guys worked. You put in the work, and you're reaping the fruit of that labor, which is incredible. Thank you so much for sharing all that. I mean, I really think there's a lot of people that are going to hear a lot of your story of where you were and many different aspects of your life, and they're going to definitely be able to get something from this talk. Before we kind of end this, I really feel like I'd like for you to share where you are now. I know you've touched on it a little bit. You touched on like working with your son. I know you and I had a conversation about it before about working with your son. Let's just get into that real quick. I mean, I'm not rushing you, but I want you to share that, because I think that's important too. The father-son dynamic, the whole business dynamic, and kind of where you are now.
Yeah. So, I figured my time was coming to end on the auto broker thing or whatever. I wasn't loving it anymore. And, because everybody reads something on the internet, they're the best negotiator and they know how to do a car deal. So we won't even go down that path. But I was getting a little burned out on that job. So, in that career. And so my son was a senior in college, and he blew his knee out, and he needed knee surgery. And, so I had been invited through the vice president of Apex into a different group about marketing. And I thought I was going to learn how to market the auto broker business better. And it turned out to be a group of people that own marketing businesses. And so I just turned to my son one day. He was home recovering from knee surgery. I'm working from home. He was in college, but he couldn't work his part-time job anymore. And I said, do you want to open a marketing company? And he's like, yeah, sure. How are we going to do that? So in true Jamie Hyde fashion, I'm like, I don't know, we'll figure it out. That's it. We opened ABCS Promotions, and we started down that road. We built a Shopify site, some other websites, and we did some other stuff. But again, I just wasn't feeling it. It just wasn't. Right. Plus, marketing's a red ocean. Like, there's so much blood in the water. Like,
yes, there is.
Forget it. Last thing this world needs is somebody else to charge us $5,000 for a website. So we did it for a little bit, and then I was trying to pivot, figure out. So he finished college. He decided to become a certified fitness instructor while he was still in school. He ended up going to Planet Fitness, becoming a fitness instructor for them when his knee healed. Finished up college. We ended up moving an hour and a half north to take care of my mom, because when COVID hit, became a parent, she didn't live by herself anymore. So I'm here working, trying to figure out life. We moved. Our son moved out on his own for the first time. He was 23, so it was time. But still, your only child leaves, he leaves, right? So out on his own. We moved. I didn't want to move. A hurricane hit. A week later, we got to put our dog down, and my old friend depression comes knocking again. And so for the last 4 months of 2019, 2020. Yeah, we left 2020. I couldn't function. I couldn't function. I couldn't move. I couldn't get out of the darkness. I put $1,000 in a trade account, and I sat here and I day traded penny stock for 4 months. And so what happened was I'd been in Apex 2.5 years. I'd never been to a live event. So I fly out to the event. Well, actually, my wife tells me I'm going. And I said, we can't afford it. She goes, I don't care. You're going. I said, I got to take care of my mom. She goes, I got your mom. You're going. You need to be around your people. I went to Apex for the first event, and the chief operating officer of Apex told the whole room that he struggled with depression. And I'm like, well, if he struggles with depression and I struggle with depression, hope this isn't too much of a family show. I'm like, well, maybe I'm not the world's biggest asshole.
Amen.
I started lifting up, and then I started coming up with this idea of helping people. Like, I've been helping people my whole life, but I wouldn't get paid for it.
Right.
So I started coming out of the marketing idea, and I decided the way I started lifting myself out of the depression prior to that meeting was, I'm going to retire, which means I'm not going to do anything. And then I immediately felt a release of pressure. And when I felt that, I said, okay, well, now this all happened within an hour, by the way. I'm retired. What am I going to do? Because I might get bored. I could ride my motorcycle, I could play golf, but the wife's going to get jacked if I do too much of either of those. So I better figure out something to do. So I like to help people. Okay, how do I get paid for it? So I came out to Apex, came out to the event, came back feeling better. And then that spring, I was learning through Thomas Keenan's book, How to Unfuck Your Business. Unfuck Your Business, about integrators and visionaries. And I realized that I was a true visionary. And visionaries, there's 4 visionaries for every 1 integrator in this world. And for those that don't know, visionaries are people that can see the future, they can see the path,
Yep.
they can see how it all comes together, but they can't do it.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
For whatever reason. And then they also get shiny object syndrome. They bounce one thing to the other, And I'm like, oh my God, this describes me perfectly.
Me too.
I had an epiphany one day.
Yep.
I raised an integrator.
Yes.
So my son, I started thinking back, and all through high school, he had led every group project. All through college, he'd led every group project. And so, and then when he didn't lead the project, he ended up leading it by the end, or he'd be in the room doing homework at midnight on Sunday. Right. I said, what are you doing? He said, this project's doing. I said, you said a week ago your part, Johnny, because yeah, but so-and-so didn't do their part. It affected my grade. So now I got to do their part.
Yep.
So I just said, hey, buddy, he came over for dinner. So I'm like, I got to talk to you. He's like, what's up, Dad? And I'm like, I need you to quit your job, come back and work with me full time. We can make this fly, but I need you. I said, oh, and the caveat is you're probably not going to see no money for like 6 months. But
right.
I knew that he had money saved. I knew he had a bunch of credit cards that he didn't owe a penny on. So I'm like, you'll be all right. And his total living expense is like $400 or $500 a month. So he doesn't have that.
Yeah.
So he thought about it. And like 2 weeks later said, all right, Dad, June 14th. So that was like May. So he's like, I'll come back June 14th. His birthday's the 13th, which was a Sunday. I'll give 2 weeks notice. So my last day is the 11th. I'll take the weekend. I'll start with you the 14th. And I had already started lining up some coaching business at that point.
Yeah.
And then we just started rocking and rolling.
Boom. That's awesome. And what is it exactly that you do?
So we, on the coaching side, we're building some digital courses. We do one-on-one consulting. We work specifically with people overcoming traumas.
Yep.
So that's the mindset part. And then we put in the basic steps of organic marketing. Nobody builds their foundation. They get so caught chasing money. So we help them build their foundation over a 12-week program. And then out of that, I signed some clients that were doing really well, but still overwhelmed. I have a client in Melbourne who's in Apex who gave me credit for an extra $1 million in sales last year. And he was still like, one day we were doing a session and he was kind of like stressing out. I'm like, what's the matter? He's like, dude, I'm so overwhelmed. So from that, we've developed a 20 touch point organic marketing system that we do for them. Now it's very high ticket. So our clients are in the 2 to 5 million a year in sales for that end, right? And they have to want to go to 10. You can't finding people in the 2 to 5 million is easy. Finding people who are committed to going to 10 is the hard part. It scares them because they're comfortable. But we do it. They don't do anything different. We do the hiring. We do the hiring funnels. We do the training funnels for their sales reps. We do 24/7 live chat. We take over all their Google reviews. We take over the US mailers. We ghostwrite their book. We produce their podcasts. We show them how to completely organically go with over 20 touch points every month, how to go from that 2 to 5 to 10 in a complete done for you marketing system.
That's crazy.
That's
incredible.
Yeah, we partner. So that's the do for you. Then the one helps them. And then we're currently building the digital courses for the folks that can't afford the other 2 levels at this point.
Sure. That's incredible, man. That's awesome. I'm so pumped for you, dude. It sounds like everything that, again, you've gone through and you've been about has come to fruition. You're helping people still. And it seems like you're pretty well grounded now, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, we're focused. We have a mission. We now know what our calling in life is. And we now know where we're going with it, man. And I just appreciate you having on here. Let me tell my story, man. I love helping people, and hopefully we changed a life today.
We definitely did. God bless you. So listen, I'm going to wrap this up. How can people get a hold of you? What's the best way to, is it Facebook? Is it,
Facebook at The Real Jamie Hyde, JAMIEHYD. It's like it says over my head here for the at The Real Jamie Hyde, or text me at 561-692-3637.
Just so you guys who are listening to this, maybe in a car or whatever, I'm going to actually get all of Jamie's contact info, his links and everything like that. I'll put it in the show notes. It'll be on Apple and Spotify. So again, Jamie, I appreciate you. God bless you, brother. I'm so psyched. I'm a fan now. This is great. We wouldn't know each other if it weren't for Apex, and I appreciate it. So thank you all for listening to our show, and tune in for the next one. Be up real soon. Thank you.